What is socially acceptable in the US that would be horrifying in the UK? When my Brit friends were visiting, they were horrified when the waiter took their credit card to swipe back at the terminal. This made them really uncomfortable. Yeah, and then bring you the receipt to sign it. I'm in Europe and I haven't signed a credit card receipt in over a decade. Even my neighborhood farmer who does rounds in his van delivering produce to the neighbors carries a handheld card reader, and since the pandemic almost all of them are contactless. Unlock your phone, put it close to the reader, done, paid. I am Canadian. I was at Disneyland a couple of years ago, and used my credit card's contactless pay system at one of their restaurants in the park because I noticed it had the little logo on the machine indicating it was possible. You know, the technology that has been standard for more than a decade. The person working that till had no clue what the duck happened when they suddenly noticed that the transaction had been recorded. They looked at me like I was from some other dimension. Despite working a till that had the capacity for contactless pay, that Disneyland employee had never seen anyone use it, and didn't even know that their machine had that capability. That day, I brought the Tomorrowland magic to Disney. Saying someone has a lot of spunk. My late cat's name was Spunky. Named her when I was 4 and thought I had made the word up entirely. In the US it was a cute and accurate name for a cat. When I moved to England I just referred to her as Cat. The full name is Cathew. Gesundheit. Naming your child Randy. Edit, British people ITT, wait, people don't really name their child Randy, do they? Americans, what's wrong with Randy? I'm Irish, but my dad works for an American company and their CEO's name is Randy Horn. We got a good laugh out of that one. There's an American comic book artist named Randy Queen. The first time he went to London for a comic book convention, he discovered his hotel had cancelled his reservation because they thought it was a prank caller. Allegedly, Scottish comic book writer Grant Morrison choked on their drink when they were introduced. I knew a lawyer named Randy Pratt. He could never go to the UK and he knew it. I once had a friend named Randy Wang. It sounds like a fake name but I swear it's true. I used to work with a Mr. Longwang. Great guy TBH. When someone says, make yourself at home, actually making yourself at home. I have a cousin I'm close to and I've still never seen the upstairs floor of her house. I laughed so hard at your comment. Here in northern Germany it's quite similar. I just can't imagine any scenario where I'd need to go upstairs. I walk in, sit in her kitchen for 5 hours, drink 5 cups of tea, use the downstairs toilet, then go home. A rubber in England is not the same as a rubber in the US. What is a rubber in England? An eraser. Haha, then yeah. As an American I'd be a bit confused if someone asked me to pass them a rubber to say the least. Brit, hey, can you pass me a rubber? I've made a mistake. American, if you already made the mistake I don't think a rubber will do you any good. So I shouldn't ask someone hey can I have your rubber after you're done with it? Reuse, reduce, recycle. Anything taking over an hour to get to being a short trip. Therese, an insane amount of Americans that have an hour or more as their daily commute. I have one that's the other way around. A girlfriend did that hands over the eyes surprise thing and presented me with a little Christmas tree decorated with candy cane. I said, oh, a dinky little Christmas tree. In America dinky means worthless. In the UK it means small and cute. She cried. I had called my mother to back me up on the misunderstanding. Over here saying something is quite good means it's not bad. In the US it's closer to very good. I had a student from the UK say that a chart I made for a lecture was brilliant. It was a compliment, but if he had been American, it would have been a much bigger compliment. Especially in an academic context. I think that bloody brilliant is the highest honor you can get from a Brit. A silent nod of respect from an otherwise terrifying authority figure is higher. My philosophy tutor once said, I don't agree with you at all, but I can't actually prove you're wrong. I have had few better moments. As a Brit in the US, this is a fun one. Pharmaceutical adverts on the TV are still weird AF to me. The length and frequency of commercial breaks in general on TV is shocking low-hanging fruit, But anything relating to child beauty pageants just makes me feel physically sick. Here's a nice one, taking 20 plus minutes to help a complete stranger who is struggling with something. The amount of times a total stranger has stopped to assist me or someone I know? Y'all really make my heart melt. Ninja edit because this blew up, 21 to drink alcohol, insane, and Americans' relationship with booze in general. Y'all seem to, never ever drink ever, only ever have one glass of wine, one beer, routinely get absolutely ducked, and there is no middle ground. I've never met so many people who straight up never drink booze as I have here. Chatting casually at the lift. The fact that the second floor in the US is the first floor in the UK. Really confusing the first time I went in an elevator in the UK. Politicians mentioning religion when campaigning. Only a few years ago that Tim Farron got raked over the coals when it came out he was quite religious, which implied he might be anti-gay marriage. Night and day compared with us politics. It haunted that entire general election for him. Everyone knew he was strictly religious, but he couldn't really defend himself, as politicians just don't talk about their religion. I remember multiple journalists asking if he thought being gay was a sin, and he just had to dodge every question. Bum bag, not fanny pack. 'Cause over there your fanny means your arse. Not your minge. Bite Scotch egg. Commercials advertising prescription drugs, ask your doctor if OxyContin is right for you. Meanwhile, this behavior would result in notes in your medical record that follow you around every doctor's office you go to. Being permitted to turn right at a red light, or even left if turning from one one-way street to another one-way street in some states, unless there is a sign specifying no turn on red. Edit, Jeremy Clarkson calls right turns on red something like America's only contribution to the world. Paying more than the price you see on a price tag in a shop due to taxes. WTF, just put how much it costs. The inverse answer to this question would be calling people a cunt. I've learned from my British friends that you have to be very careful giving peace signs. If you have your hand facing a certain way, it's like a duck you in the UK basically, whereas in the US it doesn't matter which way it's facing really. Several years ago I sent them a picture with me doing an incorrect peace sign and they were appalled. Ada, the offensive version is where your palm is facing inwards. Ada again, my life goal of being on BuzzFeed has been achieved. Lol. Americans accidentally doing duck you or not understanding that a British person is actually saying fuck you is very fun. As an American I learned this from Harry Potter. Mrs. Weasley threatens to jinx Ron's fingers together when he makes a rude gesture if she saw him do it again. The phrasing confused me so I looked it up. I'm originally from the UK. Have a son that loves Japanese stuff, so we went to a gun show that had people selling swords. Found a really nice katana for him to hang on his playroom wall. But that surreal moment when we are walking out of the show, with his sword in scabbard, on end, by his side. Walked past a cop at entrance, who nodded approval, nice sword. Then in the parking lot, past a lad his age and his dad, both carrying semi-automatics rifles on slings. Both nodded approval and respect to my boy with his sword. The whole show had hundreds of people walking around with guns, and bags of ammo. Never felt anything but safe, but did think how this would be a tad out of place back home. Definitely out of place. One mate of mine bought a novelty umbrella with a sword handle and got stopped by armed police at the train station. My college went into lockdown for a few hours in 2015-2012 because of just such an umbrella. Later that day I saw a shirt that read I survived the Red Umbrella Massacre of 2015-2012. Before I got to the part where you mentioned RIT, I imagine this happening at RIT. I went to RIT and before I read his post I was thinking remember that time at RIT. Addressing a stranger as sir. The only person you address with sir in the UK is your teacher. My British partner American, were in London, running late to meet our friends. Just as we get to the tube station, I see our train has just pulled in. We haul ass across platform and I yell, hold the door. Someone does, we make the train, I don't see a problem. My partner, by contrast, is mortified. This was 4 to 5 years ago. He is still mortified. Apparently we were meant to just let the train leave without us. Wait for the next one. His was 4 to 5 years ago. He is still mortified. Ah, a true Brit indeed. You're not British unless secondhand embarrassment jolts you awake at 2 a.m. 50 years after the other bloke's forgotten the incident.